In today's show, we're going to have a look at two very small, affordable, but very powerful 4K cameras available in the market. It's a showdown between the Panasonic GH4 and the Sony A6300. Hi, I'm Shiv and you're watching Technology. If you're looking at small, powerful, yet affordable 4K cameras in the market, there are a lot of options that are available. Two of the most strongest competitors or the contenders are the Panasonic GH4 and the Sony A6300. Today we're going to have a look at both the cameras and try to figure out what are the plus and the minus points of each of the cameras. When you're holding both these cameras, the very noticeable first thing that you'll see is the size. The Panasonic GH4 is noticeably larger and more bulkier when compared to the A6300. But when you're out in the field and you're doing a lot of handheld work, the Panasonic GH4, though it's so big, it feels a lot more comfortable because of the ergonomic design compared to the thin and sleek design what the Sony comes with. Though we are talking about bigger body size of the Panasonic GH4 compared to the A6300, one very noticeable and a significant difference between both these cameras is the sensor size. The Sony comes with the APS-C sensor, whereas the Panasonic comes with a micro four thirds sensor. The crop factor, when you compare both these cameras, the Sony is almost about 1.5 crop factor, whereas the Panasonic is a 2x crop, and when you're shooting a 4K video, it's almost 2.3 crop factor. While we are talking about the sensor size, one thing we should notice is the Sony A6300 performs significantly better in low light when compared to the Panasonic GH4. The main reason being the sensor size. So, if you are someone who is looking for a camera that will be used predominantly in the low light condition, then of course A6300 is the right camera for you. When it comes to ease of use, when you compare both these cameras, another noticeable feature is the tilt screen. When you have a look at this Panasonic GH4, it comes with an articulating screen which can be flipped out and it can have a 180-degree rotation along its axis. Whereas when you have a look at the Sony, it's not exactly an articulating screen, but this screen just pops out of its place and it is more apt when you're shooting something like very low to the ground or something overhead. One very small but very noticeable difference that I also found out on the GH4 is the placement of the SD card slot. On a Panasonic GH4, it's on the right hand side, very close to the grip, and it is located right here. But whereas in a Sony, it's placed at the bottom of the camera in the battery compartment. So every time you have to change a memory card, you have to open the battery compartment, which also means that you'll have to take the camera out of the tripod, and also it's placed in such an awkward position that it is really tricky for somebody to easily remove the memory card or put it back when they're in a run and gun situation. Now, having told about the battery, one thing that comes into mind is how long can we shoot with the default batteries that these cameras come with. On a Sony, it's a much smaller battery and it's sort of like a power hungry camera wherein it usually drains out the battery much faster when compared to the GH4. But on Panasonic GH4, the battery lasts significantly longer than the Sony and it usually lasts up to a day. One of the plus points of the Sony A6300 is the availability of the USB port on the side of the camera, which means that you will be able to charge the camera using a USB cable, either using a power bank or directly using a power cord with an appropriate adapter, which is not possible in a Panasonic GH4. While we are here, we also notice that on a Sony, there is just one jack which is available, which is the microphone jack, but there is no headphone monitoring jack which is available on a Sony A6300. Whereas in the Panasonic GH4, there is an option for both the microphone input as well as a headphone monitoring, which is available right below the microphone input. Another place where the Sony A6300 scores really big is the autofocus. The autofocus on the Alpha 6300 is way too superior when compared to the Panasonic GH4, and this makes it really worthwhile to use it in situations which is typically like sports or wildlife. Both these cameras perform really well in the 4K shooting, and when the images out of the cameras are really crisp and sharp, at times they are really so sharp that you might have to dial down the sharpening in camera for both these cameras to make it look more natural than look very digital. The slow motion is something which you might want to consider when you're looking at these two cameras. The Sony A6300 can shoot up to 120 frames per second at full HD, whereas the Panasonic GH4 can shoot up to 96 frames per second in full HD. If you are someone who records a lot of interviews or longer videos, then there is one word of caution when you are looking at the A6300. The overheating is a very significant problem in the A6300 from the Sony, especially when you're shooting 4K, and if the video recording goes in excess of 30 minutes, the camera is known to heat up and also shut down, and it prevents you from triggering a record for the next few minutes, thereby missing out very valuable moments. While we are talking about 4K recording as also the long-term recording, one area where the Panasonic GH4 scores really big is the duration of recording. A Panasonic GH4 can record up to the point wherein the memory card is full. That is, there is no limitation of a 12-minute or a 30-minute in a GH4. It all depends on the capacity of the memory card as well as the battery condition. The Panasonic GH4 does what is known as splitting of files. That is, when you're recording for more than 15 or 30 minutes, it splits up the file into smaller pieces of 4 GB each, thereby giving you end-to-end recording without having to re-trigger the recording. Whereas in the A6300, you have to manually trigger the recording after 30 minutes of a file that is being written into the memory card. Both these cameras are very versatile. When I say versatile, it is adaptability to lenses. There are passive and active adapters which are available for both these cameras, which you can use to mount your Canon or Nikon lenses to either of these cameras. Just to reiterate, if you are someone who shoots a lot of low light or someone who prefers to shoot a lot of action, then the Sony A6300 is the right camera for you. But whereas if you're someone who's looking to shoot a lot of events or somebody who prefers to do a lot of interview shooting, then the Panasonic GH4 is the right choice for you. Hope this comparison made it easier for you to choose the right and affordable 4K camera that is available in the market. Hope you liked the video and see you in the next one. Thank you.